course, is local government revenue and government expert. And today, then, we'll be looking at some of the issues around improving functionalities of municipalities. And this is based on what the president has been saying and also what the new Cocta minister has been saying around how they plan on turning local government around. And then the final hour of the show, there's some encouraging signs around HIV prevalence in the country. We'll be taking a look at that and unpacking it a bit further within the 11 o'clock hour. So that's what is coming up on the show over the next 3 hours. Looking forward to being in conversation with you. I'm going to take a break. We're back with your calls.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Morning to the listeners, Cathy, and you also. This is nothing about intelligence. It's been going on for years. Everybody knows. There are plasmas, there is wheat, there's everything inside prisons. So to say it's intelligence, maybe they should look for another name. Zakes Kwamhlanga.
Cathy, good morning. That is South Africa for you. And it's very sad that we deal with matters case by case. Just because of it's just got the attention of the media and everyone's talking about it. Then that's when, and they're only going to deal with that case specifically, not deal with it holistically, like go everywhere, sell and make sure that, okay, then all the irregularities which is taking place and on this prison, they deal with them, because it's obvious there are lots of irregularities. Last week, there was this guy who was excited, sending a video saying that he's happy. They are happy there with cell phone. Like there's lots of irregularities.
Absolutely, and that seems to be the case, and thanks for that as well, because I'd also made a note to speak about it, right, that we have prisoners that are so emboldened that they can take videos of themselves in prison and post them, talking about how good life is behind bars. That is the culture that prevails within our prisons. And what are we supposed to do now? Are we supposed to be thanking the Department of Correctional Services? Are we supposed to be saying, oh, sterling work, wonderful. You managed to do this raid, well done. I don't know. Jacob, you're in Witbank. Good morning. Good morning, Jacob.
Cathy?
Yes, there you are. Good morning.
Fantastic. Good morning, Sister Cathy. Hey, you know what? Let me first start by saying happy birthday to your colleague.
Thank you, Jacob.
Also goodbye to him tomorrow. I don't know if I'll get a chance to say that.
Sure. Thank you, Jacob.
I have never been so disgusted with the correctional services.
Yeah.
Firstly, let me paint this picture. I know a rapist in my life, and I also know two murderers in my life. The rapist even raped his own kid.
Sure.
From the very, very young age, Sister Cathy. And the sentence that he got, I'm still not happy with it, because actually I wish him dead, but yeah, that's another conversation. And the murderers, this guy that I know, who is very, very active on social platforms, and we know that he's in jail. He's very active and he's commenting, making jokes, Sister Cathy. This guy chopped his own friend at the friend's place, and he buried this guy inside his room. You understand? So you can imagine what are the parents going through. Meanwhile, this guy is very active on social medias and all that. So I was under the impression that we are suffering from cell phones in prisons only. But the TV, do you understand that you need consistent power to switch on your TV, to switch on your Wi-Fi, PlayStation? Sister Cathy, come on. This is so disgusting, and I cannot believe that they didn't find guns. I'm expecting them to find guns. There should be guns in there somewhere.
Well, there was no mention of guns. They talked about knives and scissors and other sharp objects, but nobody, I haven't seen any reporting that speaks about guns.
I haven't seen guns too.
And also on the issue of the electricity, Jacob, they've breached the electricity. They've breached the electricity in prison. But again, you can't tell me there are no officials that see this. How are people able to bridge electricity and the wardens that are in there are none the wiser?
Exactly, Sister Cathy. And I don't understand, since we have this kind of information, why are these people still employed? You and I are paying tax for these murderers and for these rapists, together with the officials who are looking after these people, to be in prison. We are paying very high tax for them to be there, and yet we are the one being disadvantaged here. I really don't understand. We as South Africans should do something. I will be in the forefront of that organization, whereby we fight against this thing, because why will that rapist in jail not rape again after they serve their so-called sentence?
Yeah.
Why? Because they are having the time of their life there. There's a roof over their head. There's a 2 meal promised, and there's Wi-Fi. There's everything. They are actually in a holiday in there, safe.
Yeah, Jacob, it's yeah. I think you used the word disgusting, and I think it's an appropriate word in this instance. It's just such a slap in the face for victims of crime in this country. It really, really is, because crime is what we all live with. It's what we all have to intentionally protect ourselves from in South Africa on a day-to-day basis. But then you switch on your TV and you're going to see prisoners with their plasma screens and their PlayStations in prison. No, man. Patrick, you're calling us from Springbok. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Patrick here from Springbok.
Welcome to the show, Patrick.
You can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Loud and clear, thank you. Now, you see, in South Africa, you have a problem of forgetting. I don't know the memory loss of what. You see, Tabo Basta, the team he was able to escape from that prison last year. Now they forget those prisoners who have those phones and laptops and stuff there. They think they get themselves in those things in the correction center. And those members who get those things off their session there yesterday, I think there's a special task. They are not working there. You are there?
I'm listening to you, Patrick.
There's a special task to go and just fetch, and after that they are gone. Even leave those things there. I promise you, those phones, one of those phones, we are back to those signals inside again today.
Oh, Patrick, don't say that. You reckon?
Sorry?
I'm saying you reckon that those inmates some of them already have their cell phones back in their pockets.
Those phones that they took it yesterday. Because that special task does go just that special section. And after that, they leave that correction center. And then they leave those ones who brought those things in there.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Patrick.
If the money involved, if the money, we have money, we get everything in peace. But there is another point I want to raise. Can I quickly?
Go for it quickly, Patrick.
I'm here in Springbok.
Okay.
I'm staying between Springbok and Katy. Yeah, we are living like old opposite regime. I have a place now here that will speak in Port Nolot. There's a place between Port Nolot and between Springbok and Katy. There's the small branches of Springbok. The one is called Port Nolot. I have to appear there for trespassing next week. So, a lot of things happen. So, I want to expose this. It's possible the media can come on that picture.
Let me tell you what we can do, Patrick. I'm going to put you back to Lebo so that you can tell him exactly what kind of behaviors and attitudes you believe are taking place in Springbok that you're likening to the apartheid government, and then we'll see if there's any more we need to do on it based on your conversation with Lebo. So let me put you through to Lebo, and he'll pick up the conversation with you. Let me go to the Eastern Cape now. Xolani, good morning. Good morning, Xolani.
Hi, Cathy. In 1999, some of us had attended a 6-month course on intelligence. It was more on financial intelligence and criminal intelligence. But why I'm calling is about what one of the guys said who was kind of lecturing there. He shared a theory which now seems coming into reality. He said in a land of sheep that is led by wolves, it doesn't matter how many times the sheep complain. For as long as the wolves are still in charge, they will always pretend to be like sheep, but the wolves will be wolves when it's time to eat. But in summary of that, he said something about the fact that if we are then allowing ourselves to be led by people who have criminal records, who have defrauded the nation, and under the auspices of either whether they have transformed or changed, we cannot expect someone not to do what they used to do when they have the opportunity to do that. So that is what is happening. Maybe with the changes that are coming with the GNU, because we've got a new minister in that space, something like this is being exposed. Maybe there might be hope that the new guys that are coming from a different political party in their spaces, they're going to expose things that were being hidden. That's what I wanted to share.
Oh, Xolani, isn't it just devastating to see, though?
It's unfortunate, Cathy, that we will always blame the people that we put in power, and yet we knew before they even get into the positions. It's us, the public, that are not educated enough, Cathy, at this moment. We cannot allow ourselves to separate ourselves from what is happening. We are voting for people that we know they've got records that are not good for society, but we still allow them. Why? Because we vote for parties and not the individuals. That's the challenge we have in South Africa.
All right, fair enough. Xolani out in the Eastern Cape. It is the open line. I'm still taking your calls on 086 000 2032. That's the number to dial, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
In news making headlines for this hour, the Save South Africa Civic Movement has called on the Gauteng Education MEC, Matome Chelwane, to consider the racism allegations against the Pretoria High School for Girls staff, including the principal. It is reported that there were complaints about black learners through a WhatsApp group comprising of white learners. In other news, the Secretary General of Interpol, Dr. Jürgen Stock, says crime is becoming increasingly complex. He says the organization will continue to support South Africa to fight against international syndicates. And lastly, the state funeral for the late Vietnamese communist leader Nguyen Phu Trong is being held in 2 cities. I'll be back at the top of the hour, for SFM News. I'm Eva Chipa.
What is Ushuni, you say? Ushuni has a musical gift and can transform a song. Ushuni can fuse folk music with a popular urban beat or tune. Ushuni can take us on a beautiful musical journey. Ushuni way to Gelo. Join us in unearthing South Africa's next folk music star. 40 talented contestants from around South Africa competing for the ultimate grand prize of 500,000 Rand cash and a recording deal. Angeke basikhone with Ushuni Womhlaba, starting 7 July, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on SABC1.
It's Winter Carnival at Food Lovers Market. Buy 3 1-litre You First odorless coconut oil tubs for 120 Rand. Any 3 bottles of Cross and Blackwell mayo, All Gold tomato sauce or Mrs. Bull's chutney for 98 Rand. And any 2 Omo Auto washing powder 2 kg, liquid 1.5 litre or capsule 16s for 149 Rand. Valid till this Sunday at Food Lovers Market. Winter Carnival now on.
The countdown to the Paris Olympics 2024 is just days away. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks, and record-breaking performances from a wide variety of sporting disciplines such as aquatics, athletics, gymnastics, boxing, breakdancing, and football. Experience the Olympic Games Paris 2024 from Friday 26 July until Sunday 11 August. Live on SABC Sport, the proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024. For the love of the game.
#SAFM Talking Point.
Hi, Cathy. Bantu here. This raid and making it public is just a public stunt and a public campaign. There's probably more stuff that are happening behind those closed walls. So this is all about making a public relations exercise.
Hi, good morning. The prison situation, the Jolly Commission in the early 2000s investigated corruption in prison, and they exposed cases of warders selling drugs, alcohol, weapons, even sex with minors to the prisoners. It was a massive expose. Now we're 20 years later and nothing seems to have changed. I mean, what did we learn from the Jolly Commission? It seems we learned absolutely nothing.
Sis Cathy, John in Bloemfontein. I'm not surprised about, I'm not even going to call it a miracle or intelligence, this thing of correctional service. The guards, they themselves, they take those things there. A whole plasma TV, how did it pass all the security protocols of prison? It's them who take it there. And higher people, they know. It's not a miracle. It's not even intelligent. They must stop insulting our intelligence by saying they receive intelligence that does this kind of things. All over in South Africa and in this prison, these things are there because of the guards. We have people who come from prison who tell us these stories, this kid. It's not a miracle. It's not a miracle. They just got scared that, hey, there's a white man in charge now. He's going to want to prove himself. They are there. It's worse in prison. This kid. Thabo Bester showed us.
Tweet at SAFM Radio and at Cathy Mohlahlana.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. I'm still taking your calls. It is the open line. Yeah, you're right. Thabo Bester did show us exactly what can happen in prison. But one would have thought that, the authorities would have learned the lesson, right? That they would have learned the lesson because he took videos of himself in prison. The background looked like he was in, luxurious hotels. There were no problems for him in prison. Why is it that a year after Thabo Bester, we are still seeing these kind of scenes coming out of prison? Luvo, you're in Gqeberha. Good morning.
Sis Cathy.
Yes.
This shows like why the crime is so high in South Africa. Because these guys, they are going to the hotels in the prisons. Like here in Gqeberha, it's an everyday thing. We're getting hijacked left and right with guns, daylight, robberies, daylight. The police are nowhere to be found. Just Cathy, can you do me a big favor? Can you please organize the Minister of Police? He can come in a show and put us in confidence and show us like what is his plan to fight this crime, because things can't go on like this. It's like there's someone who said one day to me, you know what, if you want to be educated in South Africa, become a prisoner. And then you'll get all the free education inside the prison, because everything is for free, 3 meals, everything. But when you're outside, you can't even afford that education. Can you please call the minister? The minister, please. I know he's still new. I don't know what he's going to do, because he failed. He was the minister of water and something. He failed on that side. I don't know what he's going to do here. But can you call him? He must come forward. We need something drastic and change, very urgent, because the criminals are ruling.
Look, you know, Luvo, I can understand that perhaps the minister was not able to do all that he had set out to do when he was Minister of Water. But certainly when we look at even projects such as the Giyani Water Project, there was a lot more progress under Minister Senzo Mchunu as the water minister than there was, collectively under previous ministers. So I think he did try. There were some things that he did, and he was able to get progress. I think if we're being fully fair on his role in that department. But I hear the request. Will absolutely reach out to him and see if he can come onto the show and explain just how he's going to be tackling these priority areas that he's outlined.
This is the crisis, please, Cathy.
Yeah, you're right. It is an absolute crisis. Luvo, let's leave it there out in Gqeberha. Zex, you're in Attridgeville. Good morning.
Morning, Cathy. How are you?
Well, thank you, Zex.
I'm good as well. You know, Cathy, I'm not surprised with the raid that took place last night at Sun City Prison. And some of us, we know about such things, or we know that such things do exist. And, Cathy, the problem is if we're to change the system whereby prisoners are not allowed access to, or they're not allowed to have visitors, then a lot will change. But if we're again to allow the Constitution to be amended as well, a lot will change in our prisons, because of, I'm telling you something that I've seen or I have witnessed, whereby someone will not eat would not eat in prison. They don't eat in prison. They send warders to go and buy food for them, and they will pay those warders. So if they can afford to pay warders, and they can eat takeaways daily, can you imagine how much are they paying those warders?
What are you saying? That the warders then act as a delivery service?
As a delivery service, yes.
A takeaway food service for the prisoners?
They don't eat prison food. They eat takeaways, because of they have money and they can afford to pay those warders, and they can afford to send those warders to go buy food for them. And what else are they buying for those prisoners? That's another question that we should ask ourselves.
Money that's likely the proceeds of crime.
Money that is, yes, exactly. And it's not a secret that you have people who are running those wards in jail, and those are the bosses, and those are the people who have all the connections, and those are the people who can say to the warders, we want electricity in ourselves, then they will have electricity. We want TVs, they will have TVs. We want PlayStations, they will have PlayStations. Those things didn't grow from nowhere. Those things were brought into jail by those warders, and those warders are benefiting from those criminals.
How do we fix it then, Zex?
If we're to stop the issue of the prisoners being given allowance, because I don't see the reason why should someone who's serving a sentence in prison should have money on themselves. I don't see a reason. Someone who's a murderer or someone who's a rapist should have a right for Besuku. But yet that very same person has denied another person to have a right to see their child or whoever they've murdered. So we should change the laws in terms of these people should not have access to visitors. They should not have access to anything that comes from the outside world. They should enjoy whatever privilege that is given to them in jail. That's it.
Okay. Zek's out in Antridgeville. Thanks for that call and that perspective. Yeah, did you hear what Zek said? They sent the warders. They sent the wardens to go and buy them takeaways. And then they come back. Is that how bad things have gotten? Oh, no. Charlie, you're calling from Koffiefontein. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Yes, man. I want to talk regarding there's an upgrade of a tie road between Koffiefontein and Jacobsdal, right? Now, this upgrade is more than 30 kilometers. This project was supposed to have been for 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. But now, the main company in charge is Rubex Construction Company. I'm sure you've heard of them. Now, I don't claim to be an expert when it comes to upgrading or installation of roads, of tar roads. But there is no way when you're going to install tar roads, then you can just scrape off the tar which was there. There's no excavations, there's no digging, there's no sub-bases which are laid, nothing. The only thing that they did when they scraped off the tar road, they put on another basis on top of that. Now, like I said, this project is supposed to take 2.5 years. But the way things are going on, by December, those people will be finished because this project is for more than 30 kilometers. By the way things are going on now, by December, they will be finished with the project. So I don't know who is it that, like an ombudsman who works with the roads and things like that, can just go there and see what's going on there. Because that contract is worth millions and with millions and with millions of rands.
So Charlie, just to be clear, you are questioning the quality of work that is currently being done in fixing this road.
Correct.
And you don't believe that the contractors are adhering to the level of quality that they should?
I don't believe Rubex. I'm not afraid to say their names. I don't believe Rubex Construction Company because they are the ones who were awarded the tender. So now what they are doing, you know what the big contractors are doing. You get a big tender, then you sublet it to other contractors. But still, as a big contractor, you're supposed to make sure that everything is running smoothly.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't claim to be an expert of this, but you cannot, when a tie road, when it's got polos and things like that, then you just scrape off that tie road, try to level the road, and then try to put in. No, that thing needs excavation. You need to dig. All the roads that I've seen in South Africa, whether it's national roads or provincial roads, where they've put on tar, all the roads, they have been excavations and, the layers and sub-bases and all these things, they have been done. But with this one, nothing. That's why I'm asking, maybe someone who's listening here, who's also in the
construction,
in the construction, can give a call to the show and say, no, what is happening is not correct. Or maybe people who have powers to go and look at that project can go there. Because what's happening there, supposed to be for 2.5 years, by December, those people will be finished.
Okay.
I'm telling you now. Yes.
Charlie, all right. Thanks for calling in, raising that issue out in Koffiefontein. If we have other listeners who are in that part of the country, perhaps you have a view on what Charlie has said. Vuyiswa, you're in Parktown North. Good morning.
Morning, Cathy. How are you?
Good, thank you, Vuyiswa. Go for it.
And God, yeah, sure. I want to refer to the speech of the president on Tuesday. I'm quite disturbed because yesterday I saw a Twitter sent by Natasha Mazon where she forcefully says what the president said on Tuesday, it was from the DA manifesto and DA contributions. And I got worried because we have people right now in the northern suburbs and elsewhere claiming that Mandela's speeches were written by their grandmothers and fathers or mothers and fathers in the kitchen while they were cooking. So meaning Mandela himself didn't have the wisdom of all the speeches that we say he made, including the ideal. So I'm pleading with you to please kindly, on my behalf and others, bring the president to the show. We need, to actually clarify certain things from him. And lastly, I would like to...
Vuyiswa, just to come in there, is what Natasha Mazzoni did unusual? Because I can recall other instances where the DA has done that, and not just with the president, but even with minister speeches, where if something is said, and whatever is said perhaps is it either aligns with DA policy or it's similar to what they had proposed, then they will say that it's coming out of their manifesto.
No, that's your analysis, Katie. I mean, we need to stand for something that is strange, which is the truth. The truth is very strange, to some people, because we have to actually. It's not what I read. What I read and what I understood is that she was claiming, or if she's claiming, or she's saying, this is the president actually said what the DA is saying, or the DA actually gave the president that kind of idea. That's how I understood. I think we need to stand up for the truth now. It's not time for us to sugarcoat some of these things.
It's not about sugarcoating. I'm just saying what I've observed over the years.
That's right.
It's not unusual for political parties to.
So for me it's unusual because for instance, the ideal Mandela going into the drill hole were not born, all of us. Most of us, like our parents were not yet married, but Utata had that kind of speeches. That is how his colleagues or his comrades knew him to be. But they claim that they wrote it, they gave them that speech. We must actually differentiate between lies and truth.
Okay,
and lastly, is the food issue, man. We are rated as a third world country. But what is happening in the shops is first world prices. I'm just thinking of those who don't have income or little income that they have. If you give someone 100 rand right now to go and buy food, they won't be able to buy even a milli meal or those pieces of chicken that they used to. Someone was crying to me yesterday, say, I used to buy these, packet of pieces of chicken for 22 rand, 32 something. Today it's 100 and plus. So what I'm saying, can they come and tell us what is going on here? Because we are a third world country according to world rating. But now why must we go to the shops and find that we are in a third world country?
Okay. Sounds like an issue that the Competition Commission also needs to come in on, Vuyiswa, because we have seen examples of price fixing where food in this country is concerned. And the Commission has really helped before in managing the prices of goods. So, thanks for raising those issues. We'll take a quick break. I'm back with more of your calls after this.
Okay. So what do we have here? A new dub telenovela on S3? The last one was absolutely amazing. So let's see what this one's about. Paloma, a seamstress and single mother, receives the wrong test results and finds out that she only has 6 months to live. Interesting. She decides to live her best life and do things that she never had the courage to do. Understandable. Paloma unexpectedly finds love from a stranger she slept with. I see. She finds out that she received the wrong results and decides to meet the man who actually has 6 months to live? Wait, what? And right there, I know I'm hooked. Channel your inner drama with Bomb Successful, a life worth living. Weekdays at 4:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Attention ladies, join us on Saturday, August 17th, 2024 for the Star Choice is Yours Women's Day event at Altitude Fourways, a day dedicated to empowerment, inspiration and transformation. Engage with dynamic speakers, attend interactive conversations and connect with amazing women just like you. The event will be hosted by the fabulous Unatingai. Don't miss out on this opportunity to celebrate and elevate yourself. Get your tickets now at www.quicket.co.za for 550 Rand, drinks, food and a gift bag included. Plus, stand a chance to win an honor product. This incredible event is powered by independent media and the Honor 200 series.
A century is full of thrilling moments. You can break it down to 10 decades. It is a journey of all kinds of challenges, but winners don't focus on the storm. They look forward to a rainbow. By contrast, South Africa tied its best ever gold medal performance in 100 years. From 1912 in Stockholm to London in 2012. Once again, it was in the pool that Team SA did most of their triumphing, with Cameron van der Berg setting a world record in winning the men's 100-meter breaststroke. And who will ever forget Chad de Clos toppling Michael Phelps in the men's 200-meter butterfly.
It's going to be close. Does he touch? He doesn't. Le Clos touched because Phelps got it wrong on the line. It's unbelievable.
Magical moments of the Olympics. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. It is still the open line. I'm taking your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Anonymous, good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Anonymous. I understand you also want to share or speak about the issue of the prison raids.
Yes.
Yes.
No, the reason I'm anonymous, I don't want to be a target. But basically, what is happening in prison is that there's no effective rehabilitation, there's no efficiency, and the members that are working are the ones who are the lowest rank. The managers, starting from the national commissioner to the provincial commissioner, they are not working. The ones that are working are the ones who are on the lowest rank. And if those gadgets, those cell phones and all those smartphones are not there, the prisoners, they become having an anger. And those guards, they are scared to be stabbed by the prisoners. The best thing is to let those prisoners to have those gadgets, and those cell phone and other things, so that the prisoners can be there, so that those are the lowest rank can be safe from the stabbings.
So, Anonymous, are you saying that the wardens are bringing in these goods and they are doing it for their own protection and their own safety?
Yes, that's true. Because they don't have a protection from the national commissioners, even from the regional commissioners, even from the head of center. Those who are corrupt are the head of centers and the national commissioners. I'm telling you the truth. I was there for many years. Approximately 2 decades I was there.
How long were you in prison for, Anonymous?
2 decades.
2 decades, so 20 years.
Yes.
What were you in prison for?
I was in prison for murder.
Okay, so you're at a high security prison then?
Yeah. High security, the lower security, I know everything.
Mm. Did you have a TV?
Yes. Because the white paper allows us to have TVs. There's no problem about the TV. White paper allows the inmates to have TVs.
You're allowed to have TVs?
Yes, it's part of the communication. a part of the communication. There's nothing about the TVs.
No, but if you're allowed to have TVs, then why were they confiscating TVs on the raids last night?
You don't have that request, they will confiscate it.
Hey?
If you don't have a request for TV, they will confiscate it.
Oh, so the problem is that these TVs are in there illegally. People have not been given permission to have them.
You are writing a request so the TV can be allowed to be inside the prison. It's a part of the rehabilitation because we have to know what is happening outside the world. And the white paper, the corrections allow that we have TVs.
It seems like there's more crime happening, or there's still crime happening inside prisons, Anonymous, than is supposed to be the case.
Because there's no effective rehabilitation. That's what I said to you. There's no effective rehabilitation because starting from the National Commissioner to the head of center to the provincial committee, there's no effective rehabilitation in prison.
But what do they benefit out of it? The national commissioners or even the heads of the provincial departments, because they're not involved in the day-to-day operations.
No, they are not. They are not involved. There's no effective monitoring in the prison. The prisoner will sit in his office for the whole day. Even the guys who are working at the section will sit in the office the whole day. There's no effective rehabilitation in prison. I know what I'm talking about. If you want to go to school in prison, there will be barriers. That is the one who is the heading the school doesn't want you to go to school, and you end up joining the gangsters. There's no effective rehabilitation in prison. I know what I'm talking about.
Anonymous, do you feel like there was any difference outside of the fact that you were behind bars for 20 years? There was any difference that it made on your life, on your perspective, especially now that you're out of prison?
I think what saved me, it's my background, my bringing from my parents, not prison. You see, because when I was there, all the things that I've done, I become ashamed of them because my support system from my family, not from the prison. You see.
Sure. Okay, Anonymous. Let's leave it there. Thanks.
Yeah, in prison, man, there are people that are 19 years old. They are not doing nothing, and they were sentenced for a long time. If you don't do nothing, you are going to do a wrong thing. There's no rehabilitation in prison.
Okay. All right, Anonymous, thanks for the call. Anonymous, former inmate, you heard what he said. Spoo in Dobsonville. Good morning, Spoo.
Good answers.
Long time.
Yeah, I'm resurrected. Yeah, back from the dead. Cathy, I'm sorry, do I have time? Because I want to talk about something, and it's very close to my heart. The issue of staying off. You know, when I see these hypocrites, talking about the poor must get back their money when it comes to EVPS, for example. But when it comes to staying off, Tina, the poor, where do they put us? And the rest of the people who suffered under staying off. Marcus just passed away, and their executives who were with him, he was not alone in that corrupt 400 billion scandal, staying off. But nothing has been said about this executive. On top of that, you've got other hypocrites like this DA claiming about the poor, only to find that they received 20 million from the very same standoff. So my question is, what about the victims of standoff? We cannot have a selective justice where we choose. Like, for example, the SAPC. They are busy bringing experts and this about the poor, about this and about the poor regarding details. What about the issue of staying off? Because all of us, money is the same. We lose money, the same money they lost in other institutions. Not we lost money from staying off. But it seems like they do not care. In fact, they use the issue of the poor just to push their political agenda. Because if indeed these people were honest about recovering of money, about those who suffered under, for example, stand-off. They should apply consistency when it comes to the issues of stand-off. But there's zero, nothing about the stand-off.
Okay.
You can tell me what is happening about the issue of stand-off and the recovering of money since Marcus was passed on.
Fair enough, Spoo. Can't dispute what you're saying. Fair enough point. Spoo out in Dobsonville. It's 10 o'clock.
Top stories for this hour. Calls for Chilwane to investigate racism allegations at Pretoria High School for Girls and weather warning issued for parts of Cape Town. Good morning, I'm Eva Chipa. The South African civic movement has called on the Gauteng Education MEC, Midday, to also consider the racism allegations against the Pretoria High School for Girls staff, including the principal. It is reported that there were complaints about black learners through a WhatsApp group comprising of white learners. 12 learners have so far been suspended. The movement spokesperson, Tebogo Mashelopane, says the behavior of the accused learners is worrying.
While Save South Africa Civic Movement is condemning the behavior, the movement calls for a three-part-leg approach that will first concentrate on the background of the children fingered in this issue. It is our understanding that children's behavior is a reflection and representation of their parents. We might be furious at the learners only to realize that this is a learned or taught behavior. This is not to say the 12 are not guilty. They are guilty and must be disciplined according to the code of conduct, and there must be lessons learned from the exercise.
The Secretary General of Interpol, Dr. Jürgen Stock, says crime is becoming increasingly complex. He says the organization will continue to support South Africa to fight against international syndicates. South Africa is among the 196 Interpol members. Stock is in the country to hand over new technology that will assist the South African Police Service to fight cross-border crime.
I'm here in South Africa to hand over a new device that Interpol is now using to bring relevant police information from our 196 member countries to the front lines of policing. Mobile devices that can be used in any check at a critical border station or in any police operation. South Africa is part of this pilot, and information exchange is key to dismantle these organized crime groups that are really operating across the continents.
In other news, 7 suspects have been arrested for possession of illegal firearms and ammunition during regular police patrols on the Cape Flats. They were also arrested for possession of a hijacked vehicle. The police spokesperson, Joseph Swartboy.
Delft police members were busy with patrols when they responded to information indicating that ammunition was stored at a residence in their policing precinct. In an unrelated intervention, Philippi police conducted patrols when they responded to a complaint of a hijacked Nissan SUV. Upon approaching the corners of Olieboom and Varkensvlei Road, they saw the mentioned motor vehicle and instructed the driver to stop.
The city of Cape Town has advised the public to be cautious. This as the South African Weather Service issued an advisory for disruptive rainfall over the city and the surrounding municipalities this weekend. The advisory indicates a high probability of significant amounts of rainfall that could lead to flooding. The Cape Town Disaster Risk Management spokesperson, Charlotte Powell.
Cape Town has experienced significant rainfall already this month, so the soil and waterways in many parts of the city remain well saturated. We advise the public to please take heed of the current advisory and to start implementing any possible mitigation measures around their properties in the interim. This would include clearing out drainage systems and cleaning gutters, removing dead tree branches and other obstructions, and digging trenches around their homes to divert water away.
And lastly, the state funeral for the Vietnamese communist leader Nguyen Phu Trong is being held in the capital Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. He died last week at the age of 80 following an illness. The BBC's Jay Sung. reports.
The two-day service is being held in Vietnam's two largest cities. The public, as well as officials, are paying their final respects, including President Tho Lan, who took on Mr. Chong's duties just a day before his death. Nguyen Phu Trong was Vietnam's most powerful man for more than a decade, serving 3 terms as General Secretary of the ruling Communist Party. Under his leadership, Vietnam enjoyed rapid economic growth. But he also carried out a ruthless anti-corruption campaign. In foreign policy, he pursued what was termed bamboo diplomacy, seeking a delicate balance between the United States and China.
Recapping the top story for this hour, the Safe South Africa Civic Movement has called on the Gauteng Education MEC Municipal to consider the racism allegations against the Pretoria High School for Girls staff, including the principal. It is reported there were complaints about black learners through a WhatsApp group comprising of white learners. For SFM News, I'm Eva Chipa.
S3 is bringing you the best in Indian cinema every Sunday at 2 p.m. Laugh, dance, get drawn into the drama, revved up with the action, and maybe, just maybe, shed a little tear. Catch Gagi on the 7th of July, Selfie on the 14th, Prince on the 21st, and Laila Majnu on the 28th. It's Indian cinema like you've never seen it before. Channel your best entertainment with Indian cinema only on S3. Open up.
The Rockets are assigned to question the German way of the beautiful game in a South African style. They want to start the new season with a coveted trophy, but FC Augsburg want to conclude their tour to Mzansi with a great result leading to the new German Bundesliga season. Mpumalanga province will vibrate when TS Galaxy and FC Augsburg lock horns. This is the Mpumalanga Premiers International Cup 2024. Catch the spectacular contest between TS Galaxy FC and FC Augsburg on Saturday, 27 July at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Tickets are available at CompuTickets. Proudly brought to you by the TS Galaxy Foundation and SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the second hour of the show. It's 8 after 10 o'clock. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana. Coming up in this hour, we're focusing on Municipal Watch, as we do every Thursday. And today we're going to look at then what lies ahead for local government. We, of course, have heard what the President had to say about the state of local government, particularly in his opening of Parliament address. And, he spoke about the intention of his administration to try and fix local government. We, of course, also have a new cooperative governance and Traditional Affairs Minister, who is Velengosini Hlabisa of the IFP. And there are a number of issues that he then has highlighted in his budget vote around the functionality of local government and where he believes, his focus during his term of office on local government will be. I see there's also quite a big emphasis on the disaster responses of local government and the abilities of municipalities to increase those disaster response capabilities. So we'll have this conversation within the next hour with Mielani Holeni, who is a local government revenue and governance expert. And of course, you are more than invited to be part of that conversation too. Before we get into Municipal Watch, let's play some of your WhatsApp voice notes from the open line.
Good morning, Cathy. It's you in Cape Town. Cathy, they only do it there. Can they do it also all over the country, please? Like here in Cape Town, Posmo prison, all those prisons can also expose what's happening there, We would like to see that this thing been happening everywhere, checking every prison, and you discover a lot of stuff. This one is nothing, This one is nothing. Because you find prisoners that telling you they're dealing businesses, they're doing business from prison, they sending criminal out, they do certain things and coming back in prison. They must also check everywhere, in Cape Town. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Yes, I want to also, I can also agree with that guy where he says the wardens buy food for the inmates. Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I know there is people that, even wardens that do that. I know them personally, yes.
Morning, man. Where's Miles Buru? Let him speak. We want to hear now. What would you say about what happened? Have a nice day.
Morning, Cathy. It's Bhuan from Durban. I want to comment on the raid that was made at Sun City Prison. People see this for the first time. It's a regular occurrence. For those who follow podcasts by former prisoners and current prisoners, you would know that this is a regular occurrence. It's just that this one was shown on TV. So people now are pretending or being fooled to think that it only happened because there is a new minister. It's a regular occurrence. Let's accept that. Thank you.
Khoso Makhethi. I'm Lamola from Boksburg. When I grow up, I used to see the prisoners working in the plowing field. The prisoners were used to be hired by the farmers, by the construction, to go and work so that they can eat what they are working for. This thing of people sitting in the prison eating our tax, no, ANC mess up the good thing. These people must go and work. They mustn't just sit and eat our tax. They must go and work for the food and the service they are getting in prison, so that the prison must not be a hotel. Thank you.
Hi, this is Cathy. I hope you're well. I hope you listen to this as well. I've listened to the show this morning, and where are our lives going? I feel like the same thing is happening here with us. Like I have, for instance, family. These people, they can't wait to go to jail. So they would do things they'd rather send them back because they know they get everything. And then from there, they call people out of the cells and stuff. So yeah, it's a sad thing. They need to change that whole system in the prisons and stuff.
No, what I was saying, the guy who just called before 10 o'clock, sorry. The guy was telling the truth. I was also in prison. We used to send prison wardens to go and buy us food. And it's not easy for them to come and search us because one of them, they will always come to us and tell us, you know what, 8 o'clock, some of them will come and search you. So can I take your phones? We're going to give them our phones. Then we will pay them. And something else that I can tell you, TVs are allowed in prison. If you register your TV in front, then you can watch your TV and do whatever you want to do.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right. Thank you for those WhatsApp voice notes that you've sent through. Really appreciate all of the engagement from you, especially for the open line. Well, let's get then into our Municipal Watch feature. Mielani Holeni is on the line, and he, of course, is Chief Group Advisor at Ndiso Consulting. And today, we're looking at the commitments that have been made to fix local government. Mielani, good morning to you. Thanks for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to the listeners. I'm really looking forward to the discussion this morning.
Thank you, Mielani. I think perhaps let's just kick it off by reflecting on the comments made by President Cyril Ramaphosa in his opening of Parliament address, where he spoke about the 7th administration's intention of improving the functioning of municipalities.
This 7th administration will focus on extending these services to those people who still do not have these basic requirements, and it will improve the reliability and affordability of delivery. This will require measures to improve the efficiency of local government to deliver on its crucial mandate. Minister Thabisa's determination that all municipalities receive the necessary administrative, technical, and financial support for them to be viable and stable does represent the 7th administration's clear intention to improve the functioning of our municipalities. And yes, I will give him the full support as he executes this function.
Mohlahlana, and those were the words of President Ramaphosa earlier on in the week as he was speaking about what his administration will do, or should I say last week, in fact. And of course, the new minister, Velunkosini Thabisa, has said that every municipality must work. Now, that's not rocket science. The proof of the pudding is really in the eating. So, do we have a sense from what the minister has said about local government now? Do we have a sense of what will be different or what will produce different results under this administration?
Well, I think, the reflection of the 7th administration as per the other administrations and so on, I think the way to at least phrase how things should look or should be panning out from now going forward is the fact that there has to be a significant step change. The other administrations have made attempts, serious attempts, for that matter, to be able to try and change the complexion of local government. However, we also have confidence as someone who comes from the sector, the minister himself, having understood some of the challenges at the elementary level. So the issues I think at stake that needs to be put forward is a radical change for how local government has been conducted up until now, and to understand the DNA of local government. I think that is the one aspect which, when we unpack, we must talk about the DNA of what a local government should be and should not be, so that they can be able to roll out the services. But the words of the president are certainly very strong. They are loud, they are clear. And I think for us is to translate all of those into the plan that is being put forward as part and parcel of the 5-year plan. So there shouldn't be a plan which is operating outside of where government is going, to be able to get local government to align, to be coordinated, as well as to be in cooperation with the rest of the state, so to say.
Yeah, Mohlahlana, it might sound like it's loud and it's clear, but I mean, if we're being honest, nothing new in terms of those commitments. In fact, when we look at what the Culture Minister has said around the dysfunctional municipalities, you still have these 66 municipalities that are completely unviable, and the problem is that they've been in the state of dysfunction for many, many years now. From the first audit that the Culture Department decided to undertake in even identifying the dysfunctional municipalities, those at the bottom 66 have been sitting there for consecutive administrations right through from the 4th administration, Mohlahlana, and now into the 7th administration.
And that is, I think, a key concern. So the plan that I think the minister should be drafting, or at least putting down, and I think certainly from our side, from us having been in the sector as in diesel consulting, we have crafted some form of a framework that says, if you look at the municipal space or local government space, you can divide the municipalities or the issues broadly into 3 categories. of course, categorized by the bottom third, which is the 66 that you've put forward. There's also the middle third, of municipalities, as well as the top third. So the plan that needs to be put together is to understand the dysfunctionality. And of course, that dysfunctionality must be understood from a diagnosis point of view, because of these 3/3, the issues are not all the same. So it is to understand exactly what the dysfunctionality with the 66 bottom municipalities and be able to craft, plans that address each one of the issues specifically and coherently. So the issues I think that we've had with the previous plans that have come from local government was we want to create one plan and assume a homogeneity and assume that, the problems are the same and it will be a broad brush. We'll get in there and get out and things, will be working. And then there's always a wonder that says, but why haven't things, worked? If we have gone, with budgets and people and so on and so forth. But the issue is, it's at a tactical level, it's at the DNA of some of those municipalities. And maybe let's describe municipalities in the bottom, so in the 66 that you've mentioned. One, they don't have an industry. Two, they don't have, resources that they can be able to extend, beyond and attract, skills beyond where they are. And in a way, they are not deemed to be or seen to be as lucrative from a point of view of, having resources that would attract attention, whether it's political, whether it's business, whether it's and so on. So they tend to operate in autopilot, type format. And you can see that, there's also vacancies, huge vacancies. There's acting, the type of skills there that, if you say there's a CFO, they'll be acting and so on. So I think if you then take the example of that 66 and want to build, plans, you'll build 3 different types of plans that, are going to address, the functioning of a local government. So, of course, you may, and you are correct to say that the issues are not new. And I think for us is always, the diagnosis that has always been put forward. We see the symptoms and we operate based on what those symptoms are. And we have not really looked at what, the actual causes are of that dysfunctionality that, manifests in the way that it does, as well as, the municipalities that, are seen not to be performing and so on. And it can't be a single prognosis, thereafter. So the issue we're putting forward is that from the minister, the challenge that they faces is to be able to understand the DNA and understand the 3 archetypes, if I may use this word, of the municipalities that are there, and address each one of them in a specific manner, but within a single program, and that program being aligned to the greater 5-year program of government.
You have Minister Hlabisa already threatening intervention, especially where these 66 municipalities are concerned. Ordinarily, intervention should sound like a good thing, right? Because it means that we're going to do something to change the state of affairs. But what we have come to know now, Mohlahlana, is that putting municipalities under administration does not necessarily change their financial viability, does not necessarily improve service delivery. In fact, we have more and more examples of municipalities that have become worse under administration than they were before.
So therein lies, I think, the first issue or the misnomer that, or the misconception of how to fix a municipality. Of course, that is a part of the legislation that we have. But if you are trying to solve a political problem, you may not necessarily need to put that municipality into, a complete, standstill. Okay. So there's political management from where we are seeing the issues. That's number one. There's also administrative issues that, broadly with regards to the running of the municipality. There's also then the issues of skills and service delivery and so on. But I always go back, and I think, jog, your memory of the issue of capability, which is leadership, strategy, service delivery. So some of it, where we have political problems, those political problems are not necessarily solved in the political way with a political solution. It tends to, yes, of course, we have to use legislation to get to solve, some of the issues within there. But really, putting a municipality within administration should be for the cases when there is administrative issues, service delivery issues, dysfunctionality within the administrative, side of things. So I think we've tended, when the minister also says, he'll put municipalities into administration, may not always solve, what, could be the political issues that, are plaguing such municipalities. So there needs to be a particular and a different way of solving political issues as well as administrative issues. So it's easier to put a municipality into administration, whether it's from a provincial point of view, and recently we've seen National Treasury or from a national point of view putting municipalities into administration. But we end up, as you've put it, with a worse situation because we are solving the wrong problem using the legislation and the tools that are there. And when you are done with that process, you have not actually solved the political issue, or you have not even solved the administrative issue that would have resulted in that municipality being dysfunctional. So I think that is the distinction that number one I may put forward, that let's make sure that when the minister goes out, the diagnosis is accurate, and so that the steps that are taken to solve the problems are the correct ones, as opposed to invoking legislation that ends up convoluting what the problem is, and those municipalities tend to recycle and stay in a vicious cycle within there. So I think that's the first issue that confronts the minister, to be able to discern as to whether these issues, where would they be coming from, and what are the true causes, and what are obviously the effects are being seen, but what are the true causes of these issues that have resulted or spilled over into making that particular municipality to be stuck in a dead end of some sort.
Mohlahlana, is it easy to be able to have that diagnostic of whether the problem in a municipality is a political one or an administrative one? Let's take, for example, the city of Johannesburg. We are looking at a situation now where this city is about to have probably a change of hands for the sixth time in a single term, right? And there are complaints that the changing of hands of the mayorship of the city is part of what is leading to service delivery basically coming to a standstill, because we're seeing the deteriorating state of the city of Johannesburg. How do people like yourselves, and including the department, how should they go about determining whether the problem is a political one or whether it's an administrative one?
Well, I think let me start with an administrative problem, because we at least have the tools that you can call them scientific, such as, the fact that, there are audits that are being done by the Auditor General. Management plan, which is supposed to be in place. There's the service delivery budget implementation plan, which must be put in place. There's the IDPs that must be put in place. And all that, we should be doing is to measure the performance and enforce performance management and accountability at the level of the administration. So there is not much that, should be or could be done in terms of, looking, but just to look at, how is the system performing?
Mohlahlana, I'm going to interrupt you there. We keep losing you on the line. I'm going to ask that we try and call you back just so that we can have you on a different line. Perhaps the quality of connection will improve. For Municipal Watch, we're looking at the commitments that have been made by both the President and the COGTA Minister when it comes to turning around the state of local government. Yeah, I wonder if people even still believe that it's something that is possible, that is within reach, that we can turn things around to having functional municipalities. You're more than welcome to be part of the conversation. I'll be taking your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. It's 10:30. Time for your latest headlines.
Thanks, Cathy. In your news making headlines for this hour, the Speaker of Council in Johannesburg, Margaret Arnold, is expected to convene an urgent extraordinary meeting today to deal with the Metro's financial situation. The matter came to light after the former DA-led multi-party coalition's failed two attempts to approve a loan. In other news, the Save South Africa civic movement has called on the Gauteng Education MEC, Municipal, to also consider the racism allegations against the Pretoria High School for Girls staff, including the principal. It is reported that there were complaints about black learners through a WhatsApp group comprising of white learners. And lastly, the Chinese ambassador to South Africa, Wu Peng, says the African Growth and Opportunity Act is an important agreement as it creates an opportunity to support economies in Africa. The agreement, which is between the US and some African countries, is expected to expire next year. More news at 11 for SFM News. I'm Eva Chipa.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand trading at 18 rand 50 to the dollar, 23 rand 85 to the pound, and 20 rand 06 to the euro. Markets in Asia were lower at the closing bell, the JSE weaker in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are red across the board. Gold is trading at $2,372, platinum $942 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $81.40 a barrel.
Divas in Concert, a monumental event, a captivating celebration featuring Simpiwe Dana, Thandiswa Mazwai, and Makazi. Hosted by the ever-charismatic Alfie Sipho. Join us on the 10th of August from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. at Max Park Sports Complex. Tickets are available now at Web Tickets. For a chance to win tickets, follow the Star newspaper at the Star_news on Twitter.
Every year, 30,000 missionaries are called to serve the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints across the globe, the largest full-time missionary force of any church. Most are under 25 and away from home for up to 2 years, and the biggest training center in Europe is located in Chorley, Lancashire. The Mormons are coming follows the journey of 3 young missionaries through the first few months of training and work in the field, which can make or break them. Tune into The Mormons Are Coming, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Channel your best dockies with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We continue the conversation with Muhlahlana. He's a local government revenue and governance expert. We're looking at the plans of the 7th administration where it concerns local government. So, Muhlahlana, so far you've spoken about then the need for a proper diagnosis of the problems that local government is facing, that administration and intervention is not necessarily always the answer to dealing with problems, especially if they're more political than they are administrative. And you were just running us through how officials then are able to tell what the problem is, because it appears that in so many municipalities the problem is largely a political one.
So I was going through, I think, on the administrative side, we have a number of tools that are utilized. Firstly is to start with looking at the IDP. From the IDP, looking at the annual performance of a municipality, which can also then be broken down into the service delivery budget implementation plan. And that is a key plan because it's what the performance agreements where the performance agreements must emanate from each one of the officials, starting with the accounting officer and the rest of the executive, the officials, administrative executives. That's a way of at least looking at the performance on a quarterly basis. The adherence to budget, the adherence, to spending, the service delivery, and so on. So the AG also does a great job to then reflect back, to talk about the financial side, the accountability side, the management, issues that they've found. So from an administrative point of view, we have very clear tools to be able to perform that diagnosis. However, when it comes to the political side, we always see it as a way of, either a vote of no confidence. We see that, the administration will change. There will be different, alliances that, form, or coalitions that form. And there's different, voting patterns and so on and so forth. When all of us, I think, understand that, each one of the party representatives obviously represent a particular constituency and represent, a particular mandate when they come into council. So I think, we are still lacking in terms of, enforcing and driving the political management of managing the political situations and the competitions that, would take place, within a council. So that is one aspect. But how do you see that, a municipality is dysfunctional? It's the fact that, council will not sit. It's the fact that, the committees will not be sitting to make the executive to account. Is that, you are not having reports that, are or resolutions that are being taken. At times you'll find that, council sits, on an emergency basis, often, and not, the normal sitting of council, which would be the normal, calendar. And from there you'll then see the changes and the votings and so on. So I think, for us, where we've seen in some of the municipalities, is at a political level, you may find that, there's even a divergence of views within the same political parties that may be ruling within there. So those are the key issues that, would require and warrant that, there be a political solution as opposed to wanting to solve the issues within the confines of, council itself, but to understand that the members who have, the councillors who are voted in, emanate and come from a political parties who must sit down and resolve the issue. So we then must look at, a different structure of how to solve those issues at a multi-party level so that, there's at least coherence, congruency, and some form of agreement that, when everyone then goes into council, there has been at least, an understanding that, this is the mandate that, is going to be discharged according to the plans and precepts of the municipality. So I think those are the two stark, differences, that we are seeing. You've spoken about the city of Johannesburg. Obviously, when, when the mayor changes, it's easier to then tell that, perhaps, the coalitions that were in place perhaps are no longer holding, or there's a different view that is being pursued.
Do you think that the Municipal Structures Amendment Bill of 2024 is going to help deal with this problem, especially in as far as the issue of guidelines for coalition governance is concerned? Because that's part of what that piece of legislation aims to do.
I think the spirit of the legislation is really positive and should be welcomed. However, I think the understanding is that we are also dealing with human beings here. We're dealing with political structures that are different. We're dealing with so we're dealing, I think, with a lot more. So in as much as you can legislate the fact that coalitions must be formed in this particular way and so on, each one of the political parties have a responsibility to go and report to their caucus, or to go back, to the structures that, are at least helping them to manage the programs within a council. So the issues tend to go a little bit above, where you are determining how coalitions tend to form, into the very realms of, the various, political structures, that if there is no agreement, which is transparent, before they even enter into those particular coalitions, I think that therein lies, some of the issues that, us as citizens may not always or will never get to know what goes on behind the closed doors, but we see an outcome. And that outcome, after a few months, it gets to be undone, and a new one comes in, and a new one comes in. So I think the kind of legislation, if there ever was going to be legislation that comes in, it must be to look at those broader issues that, would result, in just a municipality being dissolved, for reasons which are not, performance, related, So in other words, we need to look at, those broader issues that, cover the fact that, even before entering into coalitions and even before, the parties, decide, how to work together and follow the guidelines, there must be those precepts that, determine how those the workings of council. For instance, we can't just dissolve council for the sake that we want to change, the leaders that are there. There should be a lot more in terms of those guidelines. So I think those guidelines, yes, will go some way towards, at least regulating what we can see. But I think there's what is not always visible to the eye that, requires, I think, a lot more leadership. Hence, the functioning of province as well as national towards, local government is consequential. Some of the things we've said in the show before is to look at, how do you align local government, to the rest of the public service? Because, at this stage, local government, can easily, take, its own off-ramps and on-ramps and so on. Yes, it's an autonomous sphere of government, but you need to then bring an environment that, brings it, into a sphere that, at least, allows, for the entire public, it's part of the public service sphere, or at least, the precepts, under the commission and so on, but also that political management that, tends to be applied at a national and a provincial level needs to equally be applied. And I think, the issue of consequences need to be put forth. They need to be applied, in that way. So those are, I think, the issues that, from a local government point of view, we can't just be every 3 months or 6 months or whenever, the situation arises or it happens that, we just, come back and say, oh, now there's a new mayor, there's a mayor from this particular political party, or there's a new executive, from there, or so-and-so is being, relieved of their duties without, a clear process that is, is followed. So what I'm saying is that we are lacking in terms of, a process that can be transparent and can be at least applied consistently all the time, because all of the issues that have taken place in the various places where power has changed or governance has changed has been for different reasons. Some we could argue that they are sensible. Some may even be borderline spurious reasons that don't take the municipality forward.
Mohlahlana, before I bring in our callers, very briefly, let's touch on the issue of the district development model, because that seems to still very much be what government sees as the future of local government and what they believe is going to change the state of local government. We've had the pilots, that have taken place out in the Eastern Cape, in KZN, in Limpopo, but have we seen anything notable coming out of those pilot projects? We know that there's been quite a lot of money spent on that already, but are they bringing the desired results?
Well, I think at this stage, suffice to say that, there is not, if I may put it perhaps in academic terms, and I'll come back, to more practical terms, there has not been much research that goes into local government from a district development, point of view. And I think it's perhaps, something that should have been thought of because of introducing a new model of working, that there should have been a lot more attention put forward with regards to putting up studies that would evaluate whether the district development model is working and how is it working and what are the shortcomings of the model itself. But on paper, the model remains, it provides a lot of hope to the local government sector. Not only local government sector, but to what I've always said as well, to say what will work for this government going forward is that we need to integrate government so that government works together. So that cooperation is what the district development model on paper is supposed to be bringing. As to whether the other spheres of government are also falling in line with regards to the provincial as well as the national, from aligning projects, from aligning and coordinating budgets, and creating a streamlined set of programs that would have an implementation from from, if you want, from local to national. I think it's where perhaps the for us a lot of work that still needs to be done to ensure that there is that alignment. So district development model must never just be seen as just a district. Okay. It must also be seen in light of the province. It must be seen in light of the national as well, because that is how, at least and the example we can give in this case is that there's a municipal road, there's a provincial road, there's a national road. All of those roads, if you want to construct a road that gets to where the people are, it must terminate at a point where it ends up in a particular municipality with the arterial connections. So do the other programs, of government, that must be applied, from there. So I think the district development model requires, a further implementation. But what I think needs to be coming out now is particular lessons that are being pulled out that can at least improve the model. So the idea is sound. However, I think we also need to put in a lot more effort and to pull in the other spheres of government. So this must be about the state as opposed to just about being the district and the municipalities.
All right. Thanks for that input, Mohlahlana. Mike, you're out in Newlands. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your guest. I must admit, I'm trying to take in what your guest is saying, but look, he's an expert in his subject. I'm just a South African who pays my rates and taxes. And I think we're missing the point here. I'm just looking at City Press the other day. 6.1 million rand in the Limpopo municipality was irregularly awarded. Now, the managers and the bosses in that municipality, Cathy, didn't go and find the guys who took the money. They went on a whistleblower hunt to find out who reported the thieves. And you look at eThekwini Council in Durban. I mean, just the other day, they gave themselves 1.7 million rand for a party. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm saying is to your guest, I mean, in fact, just on your show this morning, Cathy, somebody phoned in, I forget where, saying there's no doubt in his mind that road that's being built near his house is millions are being spent and wasted. And you I think you agreed to look into it. Now, that's what we're dealing with. And to your guest, I say this, look, let's get down to basics. The ANC government sees municipalities as a vessel from which they can steal. And unless we get something like the Scorpions back in, which are independent of anybody, and they come to the DA municipalities, the ANC municipalities, and they are free to lock up people and put them in jail, I'm afraid this program is just, nothing's going to happen. I promise you the listeners that are listening now are going to be none the wiser, because there are no consequences to anybody's actions. We could fill up another prison, Cathy, just on municipal officials that are elected into ANC offices that are stealing from us as we speak. And you can have all the best plans in the world, but I'm afraid we are going nowhere in a hurry, and we will be going nowhere in a hurry for 5 years from now unless people start going to jail. And that is not going to happen the way the administration is run at the moment. No way. So, in fact, I would like to ask the guy there, how does the DA get it right? I see that they've been awarded some other award for twinning with some city like the best accounting. What does the DA do? Perhaps we should investigate them, because they suffer the same problem that you suffer, is that they can't just lock people up either, but somehow or other they don't seem to put their hands in the till. What is the DA doing? Maybe we can learn from that, perhaps.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that, Mike. Mr. Bo, you're in Isipingo. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Thank you for a well-presented show. I really appreciate your professionalism you seem to want to demonstrate clearly black excellence. And really speaking, I really admire you and the way you present your show.
And thank you so much, Mr. Bo.
Going forward, even Mulani seems to be a person who's so professional in his understanding. And putting you and Mulani together, this is the kind of, people we need in government who can actually exercise that professionalism. Now, government talks about professionalizing the services. And unfortunately, it's talk, and there's no implementation. So there has to be consequent management, because Mulani spoke about performance management. Now, to my knowledge, there are some very core people from the executive who sign performance, not from the executive, to my knowledge, from the administrative side. So you get like the municipal manager, you get the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, you get other people that are running core heads of departments that will sign these agreements. Now, the thing is, what bothers me is, why is there no accountability to this? For example, the city manager will sign a performance agreement that has leading competencies, and part of that competency framework structure speaks about strategic direction and leadership, the impact and its influence, the institutional performance management, the strategic planning management, the organizational awareness, and then you'll get people management. And these are all the competency frameworks, and then they are rated on that at the end of the financial year. And if they are not performing, what stops the employer? The employer could be the mayor or standing on behalf of the municipality to call that person and say, you are not performing according to what's written down as policy or as written down in the framework, and we need to now crack the whip on you. So there's no accountability. There's so much of laws. The Mulani is quite correct. I mean, there's the Municipal Structures Act number 117 of 1998. There's the Municipal Systems Act number 32 of 2000, and we have the Municipal Finance Management Act number 56 of 2003. And there's such powerful information in those legal documents. So why are we not using those legal documents to hold them account? As the previous speaker said, perhaps they need to be prosecuted and jail time. Now, coming back to specifically eThekwini, we are under Section 154, which just means that eThekwini needs help. In other words, strength and support from provincial and national. Now, the thing is, that was delayed so long. Since to date, after the new sort of GNU has come about, somebody has cracked the whip and said, we're now implementing the 154. So I firmly believe the 154 must take its course, and if the 154 doesn't work, then we use the law again and say, let's go for the Section 139. So the Section 139 will actually dissolve a municipality if necessary. That is a possibility. So what's the reasoning, or what's the outcome, or how do I view it? I view it as, if there's 222 councillors in a particular municipality, they can all be told, pack your bags and move it up. Now, when you pack your bags and move it up, you lose a lot of perks, you lose a lot of salary. So maybe we won't get instant gratification, but if the Section 139 is continuously applied to any municipality around the country, then surely the politicians will start catching a wake-up call and say, hang on, if we don't perform, we don't give service delivery to the people, then this is what's going to happen. We need to pack our bags and move it up. So your Section 139, you may say, the people will elect the same politicians again. So let them elect the same politician again, and then you apply the Section 139 again, and they'll be removed. So if you continuously do that and you set a precedent where people are going to be held accountable in terms of the legal aspects, then I think that would make a difference.
Yeah, Mr. Bo, I hear you. I think obviously there's also the issue of not wanting to continually bring municipalities sort of to a standstill, right? And that's the risk that you run if you're always rerunning elections in pursuit of change.
Yeah, but you're not bringing the municipality to a standstill because it's already at a standstill. I mean, look at there are cases in Kwebera, there are cases in Mahikeng where there's minimal service delivery. People are battling. There's no water in the taps. Okay. There's no electricity. There's no. So what difference does it make? if you bring the municipality. Because at the end of the day, you need to start teaching lessons. As I said earlier on in my verments, it's not going to be instant gratification. We need to change this narrative, because what's also happening now is certain government officials think that they are the powers. They forget that they are the servants of the people. We as the people are also to blame, because we don't want to take responsibility for sitting down in the evenings and learning a little bit about the laws that I spoke about. Why?
Mr. Bo, let's leave it there. Mr. Bo out in Isipingo. Brian, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and to your guest.
Hi, Brian.
Cathy, I've been listening to Mohlahlana on this program since you started. You know, I don't hear one solution from him. All I hear is hollow rhetoric. You know, I can quote part of what he's been saying. This is the language you use. We are lacking in. One. Number two, we should look at the broader issues. Two, there should be. Three, no clean audits. Well, that's what I've been hearing for years. There should be a new model. The shortcomings are, I think, what needs to be coming out of, how do you align local government with, you fill in the gaps. Now, all I hear is hollow rhetoric and fancy language from time to time. I don't hear any solutions. You know, 2 months ago, I listened to your show and you were discussing 15 million rand was paid for boreholes before it was even completed by the eThekwini municipality. What has happened to that? He doesn't come onto your show and say, look, we've arrested those guys. They are appearing in court, and etc. There's no accountability. I'm tired of listening to Mohlahlana's hollow rhetoric and fancy language. He must come onto your show and tell us what he's done.
Yeah, but Brian, remember, Mohlahlana is not part of the state. He is just an independent governance expert.
Yeah, but at least he's coming onto your show as an expert. He should inform the minister and the relevant departments.
Okay. All right, Brian, let me give Mohlahlana a chance to respond. Mohlahlana, do you want to weigh in on some of the feedback from our listeners, including what Brian is saying?
Yeah, look, I just want to start, with the first, inputs. And I think really what we are seeing is that, legislation is there to be applied. And I think, for one moment, as Mr. Bo was speaking, I then thought to myself, if there's 139C, which is, the dissolution of council being applied, how about a situation where the same councillors who were there when, the municipality gets to be returned to normality, there's a legislation or a policy that says none of those councillors, return. And I think maybe that's where he was going, from some of, the issues that are there. The other aspect is also to look at, how you then apply something similar to the same administration that, do you leave the same administration in place? Do you leave the same political representatives in place, starting from the ward councillors to the PR councillors? So I think, for us is, those are, when I say, those are some of the far-reaching proposals that we would want to see from the Structures Act, that would at least enforce a complete change, because if you're solving in part a political problem as well as an administrative problem, you need to permanently also remove some of those parts that may have seemed to collude or to be part and parcel of the dysfunctionality that would have been there. And I think just something I'm just putting forward. Look, the issue of solutions within local government, we put a lot of solutions on a daily basis. Some of those solutions may not be sufficient or may not be able to describe them on radio as we are speaking. We, for instance, from a diesel consulting point of view, we solve a lot of cash flow problems in municipalities, to give, an example. But of course, the system of local government, also requires, institutional resolutions that are being put forward. In some cases we've done changes, and put up new structures or new organograms and so on. And we also are solving economic problems by putting local economic development strategies and going so far as partnering with the likes of the DBSA to bring funding in areas where there's no funding. So in terms of the issues of law enforcement, unfortunately, it may not be our purview to go and arrest people, but ours is to fix the cash flow. Ours is to fix the institutional functioning. Ours is also to fix the economic issues, within the area, within there. And of course, there are other organs of state and there are other bodies that would come in with law enforcement, whether it's the SIU, whether it's the Scorpions, and they do their jobs, where, they are at least, given sufficient information to be able to take that forward. But I think, of course, I sense the frustration. I think it's more the frustration that, citizens are having as opposed to saying, it's rhetoric. But it's, there's a lot of frustration on the ground, that, requires, solutions. And I think, we must look to the minister. So Ibrahim must maybe say, all of this, let's listen to the minister, similar to maybe the call that came earlier, asking for the Minister of Police. When is the Minister of Kokta also coming in to put forward, his plans in terms of how he plans to rid local government of some of, the problems that they are facing.
All right, Melanie, we're going to have to leave it there. We're completely out of time for this program today. It's time for the latest 11 o'clock news.
Thanks, Cathy. The top story is this hour: an urgent meeting to discuss Joburg's finances, and a kidnapped Gqeberha businessman is released. A very good morning to you. The city of Joburg is expected to convene an urgent extraordinary meeting today to deal with the metro's financial situation. The matter came to light after the former DA-led multi-party coalition's two failed attempts to approve a loan. The meeting is expected to be convened at the city of Joburg's council chambers. Simphiwe Mabena reports.
Among some of the issues on the table will be the proposed loan request with Agence Francaise de Développement to avail about 2.5 billion rand for the 2023-2024 financial year in line with the medium-term budget. This along with the highly contentious 200 rand electricity service fee that was imposed on ratepayers earlier this year. The growing calls for the resignation of Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Komanda are also expected to be put on the table as well. I am Simphiwe Mabena, SABC News.
The Hawks in the Eastern Cape have confirmed that Gqeberha businessman Kelvin Naidu has been released by his alleged abductors. He was abducted nearly a week ago outside his business in Korston. Naidu is also the vice president of the Nelson Mandela Bay Business Chamber. Hawks spokesperson Yolisam Golotela says Naidu was in good health when he was released during the early hours of this morning.
The Hawks can confirm that Kevin Naidu has been rescued during the early hours of today after 6 days of having been kidnapped. He is found in a healthy condition. Any other information pertaining to the rescuing incident will be conveyed at a later stage.
The Save South Africa Civic Movement has called on Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chilwane to also consider the racism allegations against the Pretoria High School for Girls staff, including the principal. It reported that there were complaints about black learners through a WhatsApp group comprising of white learners. 12 learners have so far been suspended. The movement's Tebogo Mashilompane says the behavior of the accused learners is worrying.
While Save South Africa Civic Movement is condemning the behavior, the movement calls for a three-part-leg approach that will first concentrate on the background of the children fingered in this issue. It is our understanding that children's behavior, it is a reflection and representation of their parents. We might be furious at the learners only to realize that this is a learned or taught behavior. This is not to say the 12 are not guilty. They are guilty and must be disciplined according to the code of conduct, and there must be lessons learned from the exercise.
The Chinese ambassador to South Africa, Wu Peng, says that the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is an important agreement as it creates an opportunity to support economies in Africa. The agreement, which is between the US and some African countries, is expected to expire in 2025. Fears are mounting that some countries will be excluded from it. The ambassador says he is against the exclusion of some countries from AGOA.
People are talking about whether some African country will delete it from the list of the AGOA. I think that is unfair to the international community, because personally I believe that if the U.S. need approval by WTO when they make preferential trade agreements like AGOA, it's only nature that they also need to get review.
And authorities in the Philippines are scrambling to contain a major oil spill in Manila Bay after a tanker carrying almost 1.5 million liters of oil sank. Officials are particularly concerned about its effect on the Manila capital region, home to more than 10 million people. The BBC's Pierre-Antoine Denis has more.
The MT Terra Nova was heading for the port of Iloilo City in the Philippines when it sank in Manila Bay on Thursday morning. Strong winds and high waves caused by Typhoon Gimi are hampering response efforts. Authorities said 16 out of 17 crew members have been rescued and a search is underway for the missing sailor. A Coast Guard spokesperson told the media they are now in a race against time to contain the spill and warned that this could be the biggest oil leak in the history of the Philippines.
The top story at 11, the city of Joburg is expected to convene an urgent extraordinary meeting today to deal with the metro's financial situation. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
Every year, 30,000 missionaries are called to serve the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints across the globe, the largest full-time missionary force of any church. Most are under 25 and away from home for up to 2 years, and the biggest training center in Europe is located in Chorley, Lancashire. The Mormons Are Coming follows the journey of 3 young missionaries through the first few months of training and work in the field, which can make or break them. Tune into The Mormons Are Coming, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Channel your best dockies with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
The incredible story is written by the classical performance of a magnificent Olympian. Josiah Tugwani painted Atlanta in the colors of Africa Borwa. He took center stage and rounded off a memorable Olympics in style. Tugwani emerged victorious in a 124-man battlefield from 79 countries to claim gold in just 3 seconds. Every countryman wants a medallion. Ezekiel Sibeng delivered silver in the men's 800 meters. Marianne Kriel joined the podium with a collection of bronze in the women's 100-meter backstroke. Magical moments of the Olympics. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024. For the love of the game.
Good morning, Oskethy, and good morning to your guests. Oskethy, there's nothing new, Oskethy, here. What the Honorable President has said. It's rhetorics. They just talk and talk and talk and talk. And on the ground, crime is still high. You know, criminals are just doing as they please. We also what happened in the prisons. Those things will still continue. Nothing will change.
Morning, Cathy, and the listeners. Anonymous Ditsobotla. I think the Minister of Kokta must start at Ditsobotla, Lichtenberg. In 2021, the municipality was dissolved. We went to a by-election, but nothing has changed. The workers there do as they please. They are actually doing what they like without no action.
we had many administrators coming and going, nothing happened. The mayors changed, nothing happened. There's a lot of nepotism there. The complement is bloated, unnecessary workers. There must be a lifestyle audit in this water. We really, where I stay now at Itsose, is now a year without collection of dustbins, anonymous, water.
I think for anyone listening, wondering like what it must be like to have a job in the municipalities, my thing I want to raise is what is the ideology in those municipalities, or because if there's nothing that's sort of driving people to serve the public, to modernize their organization, then we've got a serious problem, you know. And ultimately, we see it in the political parties, because the political parties don't really have a proper ideology about like wanting to modernize. They're not really modern political parties in that sense. They don't know how to modernize, and so this gets passed on to the municipalities. So political change requires our involvement in that change.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for some of those reflections there. And, our last listener, perhaps that is part of where the problem lies, that our political parties are stuck, right? They're stuck in this almost time, in a time bubble, unable to evolve, unable to innovate. And that could well be part of the reason why we continue to have the problems that we do. For our final conversation today, we're going to look at the trends around HIV/AIDS in the country, and in particular, the latest research coming out of the Human Sciences Research Council. It's the HIV prevalence survey, and it has shown that there has been a slight decrease in HIV prevalence in the country. This is within the time period surveyed. So from 2017 and 2022, we saw just a marginal decline there from 14% in 2017 to 12.7% in 2022 of the HIV prevalence. Professor Kangelani Zuma is Divisional Executive in the Public Health Societies and Belonging Research Division within the HSRC. He joins us now for more on the survey. He is the principal investigator for this particular study. Prof. Zuma, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning, Ms. Cathy, and good morning to your listeners.
So, South Africa, of course, is the case study, right, when it comes to HIV/AIDS, not least of which because we have been battling the highest number of infections globally, but also having the highest prevalence rate and the highest number of people on treatment. And so when we study the disease in South Africa, how much of a precedent does it set for the rest of the world, and how much of that knowledge also influences how other countries are responding to HIV within their own borders?
Yes, indeed, one of the speakers here at the International AIDS Conference said, when South Africa sneezes, as far as HIV and AIDS is concerned, the whole world shivers. So literally, in a way, saying that the world does depend and does wait to see what the statistics about HIV and AIDS are saying in South Africa, because that then determines how the world should respond to the HIV epidemic, which direction should be taken in confronting the HIV and AIDS epidemic. And indeed, most definitely, specifically in South Africa, The data that they are referring to is the data that is produced by HSRC, which is historical data that we started collecting in 2022, collecting now for the 6th time, providing a consistent pattern in the direction of HIV in the country. And as you have correctly pointed out, that we've seen, or we see some changes. If you compare to 2017 survey, we see the changes in the HIV epidemic. However, we need to dig deeper to understand why do we see these numbers? Where are these numbers coming from? What contributes to these changes that we are seeing in the HIV epidemic? Yes, but indeed, the numbers are showing a downward decline, but we do need to look between the two numbers that we are going to talk about, the HIV prevalence, which is what we've just referred, but also the HIV incidence, which is the recent infections in the HIV epidemic.
I remember a time, Prof, when we're speaking about 2030, right? And part of the aim for a country like South Africa around 2030 would be that our HIV prevalence rate would be hovering more around 0 or just being marginal or in the 1 digit than perhaps what it is now. Yes, there's improvement, but why do we still have such a high prevalence rate?
Now, I want us to distinguish between two numbers. The prevalence, which is the burden of disease, the proportion of people in the country that have a particular disease, that's the prevalence. Now, another statistics of importance is the incidence, which is, in quote, the numbers of people that if we started with them being HIV negative at the beginning of the year, how many of them would be HIV positive by the end of the year? So that's the rate of infection. Now, the number that we need to really bring down to 0 would be the incidence. That is, we must prevent new infections as much as possible. But the prevalence, as the number of people who are living with HIV, we need to remember that if we put people on treatment, people will live longer and do not die. And that is what we're seeing with the results, that people are living longer. The epidemic is aging. So prevalence cases will most likely always be there until people die of natural death. And the decline in prevalence could only be due to people who are born HIV negative and living without being infected with HIV, and therefore with the population growth, then the prevalence will start going down. But the number that we need to bring down to 0 is the new infections, which unfortunately we still have quite a lot of new infections that are happening in the country.
Thanks for that distinction, Prof. When we are then staying with that incidence rate and this being the new infections, but I guess also with the prevalence too, we do see that there is a disproportionate impact that is revealed through these numbers on women than on men.
Indeed. HIV prevalence, we start with, we see that the numbers are still high. We've got 7.8 million people living with HIV 2022. Obviously, slightly down from 7.9 in 2017. And of course, the drop of 1.3 could be due to a number of 1.3 percentage point, which translates to 107,000 fewer people living with HIV. That could be due to a number of reasons. One of them, it could be people dying of natural death. But the other component that we need to look at is people participating in the study. If we have people that are living with HIV not participating in the study, that could bias the results. But however, in this case, we are confident that participation was quite good. But coming to HIV in prevalence, indeed, we see that women still are disproportionately affected by HIV compared to males. And there are a number of reasons to this. Obviously, one of them is because of a higher risk of HIV transmission from males to females. But another concerning one is the situation whereby older males take advantage of young girls and have sexual contact of young girls, the ages of 15 to 19, 19 to 20 to 24. And we know that in those relationships with disparate sexual partners, older males with young females, the chances of condom use in those relationships are very slim. And that is what we see as one of the biggest contributing factors in the HIV epidemic among women, and more so among young women. And the concerning factor is that more so also among the young women, fewer, or the youth in general, 15 to 24 years of age, fewer of them are on ARVs, as the numbers show.
You know, I'm looking at another aspect of this research, Prof, and it's around prevalence and prevalence peaking, particularly for females between the ages of 35 to 39 years old, while the prevalence peaks for men at the ages 45 to 49 years old. So there is about a decade difference there. Does that have anything to do with what you have just said, that you have younger women that are being newly infected with HIV in some instances? But so just explain that aspect of the research for us.
It starts from young ages. Let's look, for example, if you look among young kids, 0 to 14-year-olds, for example, HIV prevalence between young boys and young girls is comparable. Almost same numbers, young girls 2.2%, young boys 2.6%. And basically because HIV doesn't know gender, it doesn't matter whether a boy child or a girl child, the risk is the same. But the minute you move to 15 to 19-year age groups, for example, HIV prevalence among young boys, it's about 3.1%. And among young girls is 5.7%. Then the question is, if these young girls were having sexual contact with young boys within the same age group, theoretically, one would expect that, and in monogamous relationships, of course, one would expect that HIV prevalence between young boys and young girls would be comparable. But it's not the case. Then the question is, where do these young girls get these infections? And if you look at their numbers, among young girls, the HIV prevalence of 5.7% compares very well to the prevalence among boys at 25 to 29, which is 6.3. So which shows that most likely older males are having sexual contact with young girls 5 to 10 years younger than them. And that pattern continues throughout in all age groups until the ages, as you indicated, around 45 to 49, whereby the dynamics or the change now is seen, whereby males now, and most in that age, you find that most of these males are now, or the young girls who've been growing up are now in stable relationship and getting married now more often than not with boys or men within their same age group. And therefore, the epidemic then stabilizes there or compares between males and females in that age group. So you can see that this trend starts at a much earlier age, and it continues throughout in the ages of 30 to 45 years, whereby older males having sexual contact with girls 5 to 10 years younger than them. And that is a phenomenon that contributes to HIV epidemic that we need to deal with.
In many ways, Prof, you know, having the AIDS conference and having research like this, it forces us to reflect on our behavior as a society, whether for the better or for the worst, and to really confront some of the things that we're seeing in our society which we think should not be happening, especially when it comes to this issue of older men with younger girls. Do you think that the research has had its intended impact, especially in also soliciting the kind of response that you as researchers would perhaps even want to see as a response from society? That if you're telling us, look, we have a problem. Young, old men in this country are sleeping with young girls. What are we going to do about it? Do you think that we've gotten the appropriate responses to this problem?
I think if we were getting the appropriate response, we wouldn't be where we are today, and the pattern wouldn't be remaining as it is for so many years that we've been collecting this information. And I am concerned about that. We need to do more, and we can't be doing the same thing every time and expect different results. We need to do things differently. And one of the issues coming out of the conference, which also research has highlighted, that because research can only shine a spotlight where there is a problem. But we need a lot of activism. We need a lot of community involvement in this epidemic. Community members, different societies need to be part of seeking the solution. And also, especially when it comes to young people, it should be the proposed interventions should be youth-centered. They should be driven by youth. Youth should be part of seeking the solution. It should not be you and I, Cathy, who are living with aging, who come up with our thinking on how to deal with the problem and impose them to the young generation, because they've got their own way of thinking. They've got their own ways of communicating. Maybe we are not communicating to them in the way that they want to be communicated to, and we are not doing things the way that they would bring about change. So we need to involve communities, we need to involve the youth in seeking solutions that will help us deal with this phenomenon among youth. Because if it remains the same, it doesn't matter how many people we put on ARVs, obviously, which makes a dent on HIV incidence, but we'll always have this pool of people that carry the epidemic, that always remain out there as a seed that continues to spread the epidemic, and we need to deal with that.
Do we see similar patterns of prevalence in other parts of the country to what South Africa is experiencing, especially when it comes to this dynamic around the young girls and the older men? And I mean, I'm curious to know, what are other countries doing? How have they responded to problems of this nature, if they have them? Because if they don't, then it also highlights the extent to which really we are perhaps more dysfunctional within that framework than we might acknowledge.
I think other countries do have the same problems that we face, especially in our sub-Saharan region. But it's how we deal with them that seems to be different. If you look in our settings, in our environment, and the numbers are showing, you look at condom use, for example, we have seen a serious decline in the numbers of people that are actually reporting condom use. If you look, for example, among youth reporting condom use, 33.7%, so among 15 years and older, 33.7% of males compared to 30% of females that reported condom use with the most recent sexual partner. That is very low. And you don't need to look too far where the problem is. If you look right now compared to many years back, there was almost on a daily basis the billboards communicating about the dangers of HIV Everywhere you turn, you would see signs about HIV and all that. But these days, I'm sure you drive from home to work. I don't know where would you have seen any notice about the dangers of HIV. It's not there in our country, but in other countries, you go there, communication is still there, and we don't. The way we are at the moment in our country, we live as if HIV is no longer there. And I think the focus is a lot more on ARVs. Obviously, it's a good thing, but we cannot treat ourselves out of the epidemic. Behavior change, communication is important, and we need to be emphatic about that. We need to talk about HIV on a daily basis. We need to put out there flyers, we need to put billboards that constantly remind us that we still have a problem of HIV in the country.
Professor,
that is the difference in how we deal with it.
Professor Khangelani Zuma, let me thank you so much for your time this morning. And of course, he's the principal investigator of this particular study, and he is with the Human Sciences Research Council. He's the divisional executive in the Public Health Societies and Belonging Research Division of the HSRC. It's 11:30, time for the latest news headlines.
Mohlahlana with the news headlines. The DA has sought to establish the Electoral Court's jurisdiction in its challenge of President Cyril Ramaphosa's address as the head of state on the 26th of May. The party argues that the president violated the Electoral Act and the Electoral Code of Conduct when he allegedly used the address to garner votes for the ANC. The city of Joburg is expected to convene an urgent extraordinary meeting today to deal with the metro's financial situation. And buildings are ablaze in the scenic Canadian mountain town of Jasper, where a wildfire has forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate. I'll be back with a full news update at midday.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
Back in your day, it was Form 4.
Grade 11.
Oh yeah, grade 11, standard 9.
Standard 9,
grade 11. Then you drop out of school. And then by that time...
I failed Form 4. And because I was one of the student leaders, I couldn't bear to go back to school and repeat in front of everybody. I don't know what I felt, but I just couldn't go and be faced, And at that age, you are young and girls and everybody. And I had just become a loud mouth. The struggle was just taking off. And I was just one of the people who were in the leadership. So I didn't expect that I could repeat the class. Yeah. So I just no, I'm not going to do this.
Living legend, Dumantlo Vutsi.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
All right, our final conversation of the day is brought to you by the KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority. KwaZulu-Natal contributes 7% of total international tourist spend and 12% of film spend in South Africa. The authorities aimed at positioning the province as Africa's leading destination for business and leisure. The KZN Tourism and Film Authority has also strengthened its partnership with SA Tourism as well as the National Film and Video Foundation to bolster economic opportunities in the province. Well, Sbu Gumbi is the acting chief executive officer of the KZN Tourism and Film Authority. Good morning, Sbu. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Katie, and good morning to the listeners of SAFM.
Firstly, let's talk about this merger that has taken place between KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and the Film Authority, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yes, that's correct. We are so happy that finally the new entity that is known as KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority have finally been formed. It was formed around May, where we have seen the Tourism Authority and the Film Commission being combined into one. And the main purpose really of this merger is to ensure that as KwaZulu-Natal, we continue to be a destination of choice for the development of tourism and also for the development of the audiovisual in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
How do you think that this merger is going to benefit the province?
Of course, as you know, that the KwaZulu-Natal, it's one of the provinces with quite a number of diverse tourism products, and we strongly feel that as the province will continue to attract more tourists through showing off our diverse culture and also showing off the coastal line and the beauty of the Drakensberg Mountains, and also the Midlands areas that are so beautiful. But over and above that, the alignment with the film authority is really to ensure that our locations for film development is also being shown off to all the films that could be shown within the province and also internationally. So that on its own will make that even individuals that are film makers will be able to sell the province through the viewing of the destination and the locations that will be shown.
Do you believe that some of the events that you have recently hosted have had the kind of economic impact that you would have wanted to see?
Yes, we strongly believe so. Of late, in June, we were part of the Hollywood bet that came to the province. That have led to positive spin-offs and also to the development of the fashion designers and also the film sector as well. It benefited. But we have also seen the awards of the Mabunu being staged, being July, the film month in the province. That also have assisted the upliftment of the profile, where we have seen the legends in the film industry being recognized for their talent. And the province was buzzing throughout, even through the celebration of the 54th Durban International Festivals, where we had close to 54 countries being in the province just to talk about filmmaking and also development of films in general. That on its own have led to the occupants of our hotels and also the business sector booming at the same time. So it's a positive one for us.
How will you gauge the level of success? What are the targets that you set in order to measure whether this entity is delivering what it has set out to?
Well, what we would love to see in the next 5 years or so, it's where the province of KwaZulu-Natal is able to produce filmmakers who will be able to show off their films in the province, but also where we could have a clear base of filmmakers that could be developed through the studio that will be constructed in the province that will nurture the talents within the film industry. That will, of course, make the province of KwaZulu-Natal to be the destination of choice for the tourist internationally. So, and it will be making us to be back to number one in terms of attracting tourists for the beauty of our province. As you would know, that now we are in winter, but when you come to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, you don't feel that it's winter. So that's why we always say KZN has it all, because we can be able to accommodate all seasons.
Sbu, you of course then are taking this message to the international community to say Durban is open for tourism, it's open for business, and particularly in the film industry that you're earmarking. At the same time, we also know that the city has had its fair share problems and difficulties when it comes to deteriorating service delivery. How do you ensure that the promise that you are making to tourists out there, that commitment, that they're not disappointed when they arrive because of service delivery issues?
Well, we can assure the tourists and those lovers who would want to come to the province of KwaZulu-Natal that as KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority, we have worked very closely with the municipalities in line with the DDM model, where we are taking into account that the implementation lies on the ground level. You therefore need quite a lot of collaboration with municipalities around making sure that issues of infrastructure is being addressed, issues of water and sanitation, issues of safety is also attended to. So we are talking about a collaboration that is already in existence. I'm sure you'll be aware, for example, that within the city of eThekwini, there's already a working group that has been formed, and as part of the subcommittees within the working group deals with issues of tourism development and improvements within the province of KwaZulu-Natal and also within the city of eThekwini in particular as the entry point within the province.
Would you say that the city has been able to recover, and even the province has been able to recover to the pre-COVID tourism numbers and levels?
Yes, if we look to the performance of the province post-COVID-19 and also post the July unrest, we have seen positive improvements, and we strongly believe that in due time we'll be able to go back to the positive numbers that we have seen around 2019, where the province was occupying the top spot, and all the foundation is there. It's merely now an implementation, despite the economic conditions that are currently there. But people are prepared to spend, and they are prepared to see the attraction of our province.
Sbu Gumbi is the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the KZN Tourism and Film Authority. Thank you for your time this morning on The Talking Point. And of course, this interview has been brought to you by the KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority. All right, that brings us to what is the conclusion of our show for today. The Talking Point is back with you again tomorrow morning between 9 and midday. I am out for tomorrow, so I'll be back with you again on Monday morning. Have yourselves a lovely weekend. Up next is going to be the book reading.
Weeknights on S3 are all about winning, and winning big with Wheel of Fortune. For the first time in South Africa, Wheel of Fortune is on S3, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m, where Rorisang has South Africans locked into the world of word puzzles. Watch contestants spin the wheel to stand a chance of walking away with 100,000 Rand, or a car valued at over 500,000 Rand. You can also be part of the show and win big. To be part of the show, log on to wheeloffortunesa.tv and let the wheel decide your fate. Channel your inner wordsmith with Wheel of Fortune SA on S3. Open up.
Yeah, we can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM.
Regarding the prisoner that we're talking about in the first place, did you say has been taken or will be taken again?
We have, because in terms of the Correctional Services Act, it is illegal to have a mobile phone
in a correctional facility. That remand detainee has been charged and has also been moved to a maximum correctional center, because clearly being in a remand facility, he doesn't see it as an appropriate center to house him. So he has been moved. Perhaps where he is now, he will then have respect for the victims of crime. Also, set to acknowledge that he's in a correctional facility because he has committed crime or alleged to have committed crime, because he's still trial awaiting. He's attending to court cases.
The spokesperson for Correctional Services, that's Singabako Numalo.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of The Door, an addict's journey, read by Simpson Khumalo.
To add salt to injury, when he was done reading his letter that he had not seen, written by his own blood, they opened up the session for comment. Boy, did these people comment. It was like piranhas that have just smelled blood. They were ready to eat his flesh to the bone. You're disgusting. You're arrogant. You think you know better? I'm disappointed in you. You know how to pretend. You are quick to confront others about avoiding and deflecting. You take advantage of your family. The man your family is talking about is not the same man that we're experiencing here at the center. How can you do this? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Actually, you should restart your program. Were some of the comments that came from the community of addicts, and they were lethal. It went on for almost 2 hours non-stop. It felt like 2 weeks. I felt all kind of emotions for him. I wanted to stand up and leave the group in protest. Hell, I did not even know this dude. But damn, this is hectic. I did not go there to be embarrassed. I went there to look for solutions to my struggles. These addicts are something, I tell you. I said nothing. I just watched in agony how they nailed this man. He sheepishly took it on the chin without uttering a word. His biggest problem was he was quite on the offensive when others were grouped. He had verbal diarrhea, and I guess these addicts were returning the favor, and boy, did they hammer him. To my surprise, they asked me something that almost knocked me off my chair. I was asked to comment. Comment? After what you guys had done to this chap, I thought to myself, I ain't saying anything. I'm keeping my mouth shut. You're not getting anything from me. I just shook my head and said I had nothing to say. I got a pensive look from one of the counselors as we locked eyes. I could sense his murderous intent. I don't care a damn, I said to myself. I ain't betraying this dude, that's for sure. You don't kick a dog when it's down. Hell, I might even need him during the course of my stay. The entire group was about him, and I'm sure he must have felt very small. It's hard enough that we were in rehab, and to be confronted in front of ladies. Even some of the ladies had the nerve to chip in on the slaughter of this man's character. Yes, I know that might not sound politically correct, but you see, we were all in our little corners, had these ladies' man tendencies. We loved the opposite sex and spent so much time trying to impress them in the hope that, given a chance, we could bet one of them, especially in rehab. That is just addict behavior. See what we can get away with. Always trying to push the envelope. Locked up in rehab with the opposite sex and couldn't do anything. That would work on a brother, and I don't care the color of your skin. We are prone naturally to want to impress the opposite sex and gain favor with them. We want to show off our six-pack if we have one. We are macho in front of them, and to some extent, we want to show our prowess in the process of confronting others. Little did he know that there was a surprise brewing for him that would knock the wind out of him. He was eyeing some chick there. Boy, he could forget about that. He was toast for sure. At the end of it all, it was the collective wisdom of the counselors that, after he had been there for almost 2 months, he had to restart the program. According to his collateral letter, he was informed that if he did not restart the program, he shouldn't even bother coming home. The family was prepared to cut him off and he would be on his own. What the hell? He was made to stand up and go to his room, of course accompanied by one of the addicts in case he was harboring funny ideas of jumping the fence and getting out of there. And I'm sure the thought crossed his mind. That would have crossed my mind for sure. After such brutal confrontation, hell, even the most